a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironsides here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter and I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment that made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years I watched my country change. Watched this work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us your true name? You do have a name. My name is Gladiator. How dare you show your back to me? Slave, you remove your helmet and tell me your name. My name is Fun My Comic, and I represent all the campaigns you shadow banned and kicked off your website. Huh? Creators that just wanted to fund, that wanted to be left alone. And we will build a website that is going to bury you all. Oh crap.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night. I wasn't sure I was going to do a show tonight. I already had a thumbnail made up, and I got home and I was like, I got a lot to do, but damn it, I'm going to put a show on. you know. I already had the topic kind of advertised, and so it's like, why not, you know? So I didn't do any like research, but if anybody wants to help me out, the link is in the chat. Also, there's a poll in the chat, which is the best generation, and I've got 4 generations. I'm not going with generation A. I think it's the latest generation. Gen Z, no, Gen Y. I think it's Gen Y. I don't know, whatever they call them. Gen Alpha. That's it. I didn't include them. But I do have a Gen Z. I do have Millennials. I've got Generation X. And also have Boomers, baby Boomers. So, all right, we're going to have a chat. And why is this significant? Why do I keep talking about the generations? Why do I keep talking? Why is it significant? Well, it's significant in the fact that there is right now, there is a power struggle going on. The baby boomers are holding on with their, Nosferatu clawed fingers, trying to hold on to all the seeds of power, all of the culture, hold on control of pretty much all of society. And but they're all in like their 60s all the way into the 80s and 90s. Okay, I don't know if they're 90s, but they're definitely in their 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so this is pretty much we're about to see a real big generational shift. Okay, now the boomers attempted to skip over Generation X and go straight to the millennials and Gen Z. And the reason why is because they have a more ideological resonance with millennials and Gen Z. At least they think they're resonating with Gen Z, which is we're finding out is not the case. Gen Z it's kind of like a skipping generations, So you got the boomers who hated the greatest generation. They hated the fact that they won World War II and the Korean War. They hated that they all came home and built lives for themselves because all the damage that Woodrow Wilson had done had not really quite taken hold yet, and so people could still make a living. And the fact is that they grew up in relative opulence. Okay, most people, the middle class was the biggest class in America, and if you're in the middle class, you could own a car, you could own a house, and you own property basically, and your kids were able to go on vacations, and so the baby boomer generation, they tended to have it easier than the previous generations. And the big segment of that generation, because of the Vietnam War coming in and the draft being instituted, kind of broke away and decided to become communist and anti-American, and made protesting the war kind of like their whole entire thing. The Vietnam War is their whole entire thing. That's the reason why now when protesters are showing up, they all tend to come from the same generation. I mean, look, my friend Matt Von Swoll, who does a lot of good documentation of what's going on in like Asheville. Asheville is the big blue segment of Western North Carolina, which is why they got money thrown at them after Helene, and why Biden era FEMA seemed to only recognize that Asheville had any needs. But every time there's a protest in Asheville. Every time there's a protest across the country, every time one whoever's behind it, whatever dark money is funding these protests, they have a chapter in Nashville. So if it's happening in Nashville, it's happening it's happening every blue city across America. And so when these people show up, they tend to be from the same generation, baby boomers. Okay. And they're singing like stuff like "We shall overcome." What are you overcoming exactly? And when you ask them these questions, they're kind of like, well, I have a sign here, you know. This does my thinking for me, you know. So the Gen X, I had a discussion earlier with my friend from Frost Comics, Jared Trotter, and he was like talking about he's a millennial, but he's kind of a early millennial. We call them Zennials, you know, they're more like Gen X than they are like the later millennials. But he was talking about how his generation was definitely a lot more brainwashed than the Gen X was. They tended to believe narratives more than Gen X did, and he believes that that essentially they were basically the boomers, like predator, like what do they call that? They were kind of like the boomers picked to carry the torch, rather than Gen X, because Gen X was basically Gen X is basically the boomers' next generation, and so you know they tend to have older siblings, parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, or whatever. They all tend to be in the baby boomer generation. And so Gen X grew up with the baby boomer generation and kind of saw the truth of that generation and rejected it. And I remember getting these messages. I remember that the MK Ultra style Project Mockingbird messages were coming in at the time when I was growing up. I mean, we got our achievement test from California. Yep. And later on, when I hit middle school and high school, it got really bad because Carter created the Department of Education. And so while before, all they had was like standardized, suggested textbooks and stuff like that, which people tended to do what was suggested by the government. But then the Department of Education came in and they were forced to do it. And so that's when it really kind of started going off the rails. But by my generation, we still had civics class. We still had like carpentry, brick masonry was in my high school. We had brick masonry. We had car mechanics, carpentry. There was an angling class for PE. I should have took that class. My gosh, I should have took that class. But basically, when I was coming in before the Department of Education started eliminating everything but college prep, that came in with like the immediate next generation when they started eliminating anything that led along the lines of the what is that called? Not that basically more mechanical stuff, more along the lines of HVAC, mechanics, welders, people that worked with their hands more than their brains. But they started taking that out of the schools right after my generation. They also started cutting back on music programs. That was a generation after me. And all this stuff, schools just became basically a funnel to the colleges. And so, where they could get their really get their indoctrination ramped up. But anyway, so let's talk about the generations. Let's kind of separate them out a little bit. So let's talk about music. Baby boomers generation. What was the music that they had? Well, they grew up with the Beatles, Bob Dylan, Marvin Gaye, and Motown, Rolling Stones, Eagles, Carole King, if you were into kind of chick music, and Led Zeppelin. They had Zeppelin. They had Bob Marley and the Wailers. Pink Floyd was at their height around that time. So baby boomers, got a very strong case there. So let me see the best music of Generation X. Let's see what it says. Okay, best music of Generation X. All right. Generation X, the band, later Billy Idol. Okay. Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Beastie Boys, Prince, Public Enemy, REM, Soundgarden, Dr. Dre. We got Michael Jackson. I would say he's Gen X. Oh, I got a comment over here. Somebody's actually in my chat. Let's see what they say right quick. Hola. Okay, it's Wrangler. Hey, man. That link is live if you want to join me. I'll be in here. Anyway. Okay, so we basically, we had the grunge era. We had the hair metal. They don't have any hair metal bands listed here, but Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Skid Row, bands like that. So I am not one to I'm not going to be the kind of person that's going to deny them. Thank you, but not tonight. All right, appreciate it. Just let you know it's all open. But I'm not going to be the kind of person that's going to say, I don't like hair metal. I prefer hair metal over grunge. Because grunge is kind of like the British invasion of comics. All nihilism, all negativity, all social awareness. And every single lead singer that was big in the grunge era committed suicide. Yeah. Just about every single lead singer of the grunge era wound up committing suicide or dying young of drugs in some way, shape, or form. So, REM was part of Gen Z. If you want to go with rap, Public Enemy, people like that. I guess most of the biggest rap groups kind of hit during Gen Z or Gen X. I think Eminem was Gen X. Pretty sure. I think he was 90s. So pretty sure Eminem was in the Gen X. Okay. All right. Yeah, if Dr. Dre is in Gen X, then they've been okay. All right. So there you go. Maybe we got New Wave also. Groups like Blondie, people like that. Anyway, okay. So what is the Millennials? What was their music like? So let's find out. The AI is kind of giving me a rundown here. Okay. So considered it's not I guess I didn't do it right. It's giving me too many current acts. I gotta quote it right. Okay. All right, this is better. Okay, so they're saying that Lord from Royals fame, okay, Frank Ocean, 2012, Beyonce, of course, Beyonce's big millennial star, The Killers, Kendrick Lamar, Adele. Adele's considered millennials, so all right. LMFAO. They had like one hit. Come on. Taylor Swift, David Guetta, Titanium. Okay. Miley Cyrus is considered millennials. Okay. All right. So a lot more one-hit wonders. A lot more on the pop end of things, I'd say. All right. Okay. So I guess rock wise, millennials would be probably new metal, maybe kind of like a Limp Bizkit and those guys. I don't know. Would they be considered millennials? Millennial generation? Let me see. Let me look this up real quick. All right. Okay, these people are stupid. Hold on. I guess Weezer would definitely be millennial. Bowling for Soup. Okay. NSYNC. Okay, the boy bands were millennial. Okay, so NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and fill in the blank. TLC was considered millennials, I guess. I don't know. They're kind of right on the edge there. They're kind of like Vanessa Carlton was millennial. Okay. All right. Britney Spears. Oh, okay. Yeah. That'd be Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, I guess. Taylor Swift is considered millennial. 2000. Okay. Well, she kind of like broke in early 2000s, so I guess Florida is millennial. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's continuation of hip hop. Kind of like they went into the like really head first into kind of like the pop, the prepackaged pop. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's look at best music of Generation Z. See what we got here. Gen Z music. All right. So Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Kendrick Lamar, Charlie XCX, Travis Scott. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody there. I so far outside the mainstream by this point. I guess Lady Gaga would definitely be millennial. Bruno Mars, I think he's more millennial. But yeah, Gen Z, I kind of got some slim pickings there. Oh, 1 second. Got a comment from Frost Comics. All right. Unrelated to music, but relationships, dating, and family are absolutely poisoned to millennials. We never really generationally recovered. Very few of us escaped anti-family conditioning. Menudo, I think that band was constant turnover, making them all generations from Gen X on. Good point. Yeah, Menudo is definitely a boy band for all generations. Anyway, Puerto Rican kids, I guess. Okay, so I'm thinking along the lines of metal. I think Metallica, Megadeth is definitely Gen X. Pretty sure. I think you would say that the thrash metal was definitely Gen X. But the forerunners of them kind of like they were baby boomer. People like Motorhead and the Priest, Maiden, people like that. I think Maiden definitely fall into baby boomer, maybe. Yeah, that could be early Gen X, maybe early Gen X, but yeah, definitely in that area. Baby boomers, kind of like late boomer, but 70s was still young Gen X, and that's disco. So I think I could clearly put disco into boomer music. Okay, so Gen Z really has some slim pickings. I thought they had bigger stars than this, but they basically have holdovers from millennials. They don't really have anybody new. It's like they come, they're a flash in the pan, and they go just as quickly. Nobody seems to have except for, I mean, they just throw awards at Beyonce, but it seems like and Taylor Swift, but it doesn't seem like there's anybody new. Maybe Billie Eilish might be the newest one. I think that's kind of getting a lot of the awards, but they don't really have a lot of stars. They don't have a lot of banger albums they can point to. Hip hop has pretty much just took over as a dominant genre at this point in mainstream, at least. Anyway, I think I kind of pushed metal completely out, except for Metallica's allowed. They're kind of grandfathered in. But music-wise, I'm going to have to give it to the boomers. Okay. As much as it galls me to say so, boomers had Led Zeppelin and The Who, people like that. So I'm just going to have to give best music to the boomers, as much as it galls me to say so. All right. Best comics of boomer generation. Now, boomer generation was kind of like the Silver Age, I believe. I guess early on. I guess they could kind of be kind of early on. Let me see. Boomer comics. Okay, so Boomer Comics, we're talking along the lines of, a lot of the biggest ones came in. The Greatest Generation pretty much drew the comics of the Boomer generation. So you got Kirby drawing comics at that time and people like that. And so, yeah, comics, Boomers definitely have a lot of the comics. A lot of the best comics are available during the Boomer generation. Okay, now Gen X. Gen X is pretty much Bronze Age. On. Okay, Gen X is pretty much had the Bronze Age. So that would be like the pinnacle of the X-Men. They have a lot of the best Avenger stories, the best runs of Spider-Man and Captain America were during the Gen X generation. And Millennials, Image kind of came in with the Millennials. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to. All right. I'm going to have to do not disturb that. I have to call them back. Anyway. So, yeah, they're Bronze Age. I guess the best X-Men, the best Captain America, Captain Spider-Man, over in like DC, the best runs of Batman were during Generation X. I put up any run of Batman during that time. That's kind of like the graphic novels came in. You know, of course, unfortunately, Watchmen, the British invasion happened during Gen X. So millennials, I'd say Image, and a lot of stuff that came in with Image. A lot of the changes that happened to comics around that time. They also had a crash at the beginning of the millennials, but you know they had some really good stuff, really cool stuff. But then later on, we're not going to talk about Gen Z because as the millennial generation went on, the comics went okay. Image really did some, really started out being really exciting, but some habits that showed up during the Image really is eventually took down comics later on. You know, the art, the extreme, you know, the artist focus that created Image also caused a backlash in comics to where they became writer focused, and they stopped pairing up artist and writer teams for more than just a few issues, and it destroyed long runs. And eventually, you know, it led to the downfall of comics. So I'm going to say, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, okay? Music, the boomers have us on music, okay? But Gen X has the best comics. All right, I'm going to say that. Gen X had the best comics. I was around during that was basically Jim Shooter's baby, you know, early on. But I would say that Gen X definitely had the best comics. Okay. I'll give us that. All right. Now, sports wise, okay. The height of sports was probably Gen X had people like Michael Jordan, the best generation of basketballs definitely during Gen X. You know, the 80s and early 90s. Some of the best basketballs ever been played happened during that. Some of the best tennis runs happened during Gen X. We're talking the late 70s through the 80s into the 90s. Some of the most iconic tennis stars happened during Gen X. Now, Boomer generation definitely had better Olympic teams, but we did have the Miracle on Ice that happened Gen X. So we also had the Los Angeles Olympics. That was Gen X. So I'm going to have to give an edge in sports to Gen X because millennial generation and Gen Z, I can't think of anything really significant happened in sports during those times. If anybody wants to correct me, go right ahead. But I'm going to give a sports edge to Gen X. Okay. So we got the comics. We got the best comics. We got the best sports. Cartoons. Now, that's a close one. Okay. Because there's a lot of great cartoons that happened. The Hanna-Barbera and things like that happened, you know, during the boomer generation. And but then, you know, you get to the 80s where the cartoons and the toy lines started collaborating, and then you got the things like Transformers, G.I. Joe, and it's like the bad cartoons were still so much better than a lot of things that came before because of that collaboration. Now, I'm going to have to say that the millennials had like the Batman animated series and things like that. And there was quite a influx of cartoons that were really seriously good. You know, that's not saying that the Gen X didn't have some real bangers cartoon-wise. But I have to say that millennials, at least with cartoon series, I'm about to say millennials probably had the best cartoons when it comes to quality. That which galls me to say it, because Gen X had some banger cartoons. But I'm gonna have to say Millennials probably was probably the pinnacle of cartoons, and can't say anything about Gen X or Gen Z because things just went. It's really it's I'm sorry, Gen Z really had got the shaft. They really got the short end of the stick. But music, I'm gonna say boomers, cartoons and sports. I'm gonna have to say Gen Z. But cartoons, I'm gonna have to give the edge to millennials, because the ones that they had, they might not have had as much, but the ones that they had, the writing was legendary. Some of the best written stuff came out during the millennial generation, because I think it's the Gen X was writing it. And so, in a way, okay, so what other category you want me to cover? Anyone have any suggestions? Another category for me to discuss? Anyone? Can I have some suggestions here? Movies. Let's say movies. All right. Now, boomers had some bangers. I mean, boomers there's a real renaissance that happened during the boomer generation. The spaghetti westerns were boomer generation. Okay. And they had a lot of really legendary movies during the boomer generation. Of course, they're all written by communists on the blacklist, but those commies could write. Okay. And they're really pushing the envelope during the boomer generation. And so they had some like really legendary movies that happened during that time. Now, Gen X is the blockbuster era. It's a blockbuster era, man. And there's some incredible movies that we're still talking about. They're still emulating, and they're still trying to remake, that happened during the Gen X generation. Millennials, not as many. So movie wise, I'm gonna have to give it to Gen X, because now the boomers had some like really, really legendary movies. Okay, some incredible written movies. Some movies that are still like talked about as some of the best ever made. But Gen X had that kind of Oscar bait, but they also had the spectacles. They also had the biggest blockbuster movies. They had the summer blockbuster was perfected during the Gen X generation. And they're still trying to recreate that. Because when they go to recreate these movies, when they go to reboot, when they go to launch something new, they don't go all the way back to the 70s. Most of the stuff that they're remaking, most of the stuff they're trying to recreate were 80s and 90s movies. So I'm going to give the edge on Gen X to movies. Okay. So I'm not getting any feedback from the chat. I'm not getting anybody. I think they all came and hung out for a minute and then took off. So not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any anybody helping me out over there. So I'm trying to think of other categories that I could cover. I'm trying to be as even as I can. I'm trying to be as generous as I can. Just getting back. Okay, Wrangler. What's another category I can cover, my friend? I got my Wrangler over there. So what's another category I can cover, my friend? I did movies, I did comics, I did music, and I did sports. Okay. So once again, review. Movies, I gave Gen X. Sports, I gave Gen X. Cartoons, I gave to the millennials. And video games. Okay. All right, video games. Boomers didn't have video games that came in during the Gen X generation. So boomers, sorry, you're out. Video games during the Gen X was in their infancy, and they're working their way up. Had some banger games. They're still legendary today. The beginning of Super Mario's and things like that. But then when it hit the millennials had the really big ones. Okay, really start gaining some momentum there. Where games were really started to take over pop culture quite a bit. But Gen Z, when it hit Gen Z, that's when you got Fortnite. That's when you got these massive world games. We dropped quarters in arcade cabinets. Yeah, that was Gen X thing. Definitely a Gen X thing because the consoles kind of took us out of that when it hit millennials. But I'm going to have to say the massive world games, the graphics and things like that are just getting better. So I'm going to have to give it to Gen Z. You got one, Gen Z. You finally got one. Everything else is deteriorated, and games are deteriorating, quite frankly. But early on in Gen Z, the games kind of reached their pinnacle, where they were really, influential and really making a name for themselves. And so I'm gonna have to give to Gen Z. Believe it or not, Gen Z got one. There you go. You disagree, Wrangler? If you disagree, my friend, because I think, the quarter arcades, the first consoles, things like that, computer games and things like that started coming in during Gen X. But then millennials, it really took a big leap forward. But when it hit Gen Z, I think that's when it, MMORPGs happened. Like they really came in on millennials, but the interconnectivity really took gaming to the next level, and so I've got to give that to Gen Z. Okay. Any other categories that I've missed? Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's review movies. I said Gen X. Music, I had to give that to boomers. Cartoons, I had to give that to millennials. Video games, I have to give that to Gen Z. And what else did I cover? Sports, I gave sports to Gen X because you had to be there. But trust me, sports has fallen off from what it was in Gen X's generation quite a bit. We had Bird, Magic, Jordan, all that thing. Yes, they have better hardware now. The games are capable of tremendous depth. They're just not clearly as fun now. I still go back and play the older Metroid games, occasional Zelda. Yeah. Yep. That's true. I have to agree with that. Yep. More advanced wasn't necessarily better. But in terms of like storytelling and things like that, they started becoming like productions in Gen Z. So yeah, I'm going to have to hold with Gen Z on that one. All right. So all the categories added up, Gen X wins. Mainly because nobody from the other generations came on to defend it. I have a link over there in the chat. Anybody from another generation can come in and defend themselves before the end of the show. Feel free. But from where I'm standing, I have to say boomers, are second, but Gen X definitely has the advantage when it comes to best culture and things like that. Best pop culture, best written stuff, the best sports. I mean, the best Super Bowls. I mean, there was a big lull in Super Bowls about the middle 80s when the 49ers were just dominating everything. And it kept beating up on the Bills. Not the Bills, but the Broncos. They beat up on the Broncos multiple times in a row because John Elway was good enough to drag them to the Super Bowl, but not good enough to win one. Then they also beat up on the San Diego Chargers in the middle there. Natron Means and group. But overall, some of the best, definitely some of the best Super Bowls that we've had were probably during Gen X. Now, Millennials had some good ones. That's when the Patriots came in, and there was some pretty good banger Super Bowls during the Millennial reign. So, but basketball doesn't even compare. It doesn't even compare. Anyway. Alrighty, so I am going to call it a night unless somebody else has another category I can discuss. Unless somebody wants to come in and defend their generation and and dispute me or tell me I'm biased. I'm being biased, and I'll admit my bias. I think Gen X is the generation that's going to save the planet. I just do. All right. Okay, so when it comes to the future, the boomers are losing their hold. They've had a stranglehold on the culture. They had a stranglehold on just about every lever of power. And I think they're going to lose it. They're just by age. I think they're going to age out. How about politics? Just kidding. Well, yeah, I think they're all aging out. I really do. I think, I guess Donald Trump will be probably the last baby boomer president. I think everybody else is going to be too old. So I'm kind of hoping that he'll be the last baby boomer president, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, honestly. But they're aging out. They're having strokes and heart attacks and, and dementia, a lot of dementia. And I don't think they're going to have control for too much longer. And I think Gen X is going to have to step up. And Gen X was raised their last feral generation. They were raised out in, when the parents turned your kids out and told them not to, I don't want to see you till the sun goes down. That's Gen X is the generation is why they had to ask the boomers, okay, it's 12 o'clock or it's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Or something like that. I don't know when they gave that announcement, but that reminded the boomers to look for their kids. Okay. So that was my generation. That's how we grew up. And so, I think they're tougher. I think mentally we're tougher. I think we're more skeptical. A lot of the biggest voices right now that are debunking the narratives and really pushing the truth into people's ears are usually from the Gen X generation. And so that's our claim to fame, I think. Gen X is definitely leading the way when it comes to that. Yeah, Gen X, the first half of the millennials, pretty much grew up the same way. Yeah. The Zennials. Yeah, boomers will win that one. They're still there, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, but not for too much longer. They're all aging out. I mean, they'll probably die in office like Dianne Feinstein. I mean, dear Lord, they were just carting her in and voting for her there towards the end. There's no way that lady was even competent. I mean, she was wearing diapers and they were pushing her in to give her to take her vote for her. And I mean, one of them was found in a mental, like a mental hospital or whatever. Gen X is mutating. Okay. Yeah, the Gen X men. There you go. The Gen X men. Yeah, yeah. We're getting there. We are getting there, definitely. But yeah, I honestly think it's like I did the show, the Gen X Files. It's like a pop culture from the point of view of the generation it was created for. And I honestly believe that the best pop culture is created for Gen X, basically to keep us out of trouble. Please allow me to present you the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, have you seen her lately? My God. I mean, the Crypt Keeper been going. Anyway. Yeah, the Crypt Keeper would not be having it. I honestly think we're going to see some heads roll. I mean, I'm usually black-pilled about certain things, but I don't think Trump's going to allow this to slide. I think there's going to be some heads roll, and most of them are going to be from the Gen X or the Boomer generation. Most of the people on the chopping block, to most people that are going to probably see some jail time are from the Boomer generation. Matter of fact, I believe they're going to start seeing people pop off, especially ones that have incriminating information about Hillary Clinton. I think they're going to start dying pretty soon now. The Crypt Keeper must have better care regimen. Maybe. Anyway, so yeah, I think Gen X is about to take over. I think most of the people that are moving into positions of power, like Pine Bondi's Gen X. I mean, she might not look it, but she's Gen X. Tulsi Gabbard is Gen X. Okay. Now, RFK Jr. is Boomer. But he's built like a freaking Gen Z, but it is what it is. Hegseth is, I think he is early millennial, and most of the people, like I mean, Elon Musk is Gen X. He is very clearly Gen X. And so most of the people that are really starting to take over and people are starting to really change things are pretty much Gen X. Everybody that's really pushing into the indie space right now, most of them are Gen X. Now there's still some boomers that are still around, but for the most part, the biggest movers and shakers are Gen X. So I really think that the boomers have really had control of everything for a long time, but I don't think that's going to hold. So the boomers have Chuck Norris. How can we top that? Yep. Well, he's getting up there in years. I'll just say that. Who do we have? I think Jet Li. We have Jason Statham. They're Gen X. We're doing all right. No, I think Jet Li might have been Boomer. I've seen him lately. He looks old now. I think he was pretty old. Him and Jackie Chan are both about the same age, I think. It is what it is. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming to my crazy little show. I don't like. Well, the result was I do think the Gen X is definitely the best generation, my opinion. Millennials, Zennials especially, they are definitely up there, but we claim them. Gen X claims the Zennials. So Pedro Pascal, let's not count that one. No, I think he's millennial. Pedro Pascal's millennial. So he's a Zennial. I mean, he's right on the edge, but he is definitely millennial. So We don't have to claim him. Anyway. All right. So thank you all for coming and hanging out. I did forget. Let me check my All righty. Let me check my poll. See what we got here. Got one vote in my poll. That one's for Gen X. Okay. I did a poll earlier on X, and there was 3 votes on that one. 2 for Gen X and 1 for Millennial. All right. So I'm going to end my poll. Vote now or forever hold your peace. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end. All righty. So that my poll, at least, you know, as underrepresented as it was, I had 1 vote for Gen X. So we're declaring a win. We're declaring a win for Gen X. Sorry, kids. That's how the cookie crumbles tonight. But anyway, if you have any dispute, you should have showed up. I had the link in the chat was live. You could have come on and defended your generation, but you did not. So I guess my bias self was able to go ahead, swing it my way. So Gen X is the best generation, by my opinion. And I think the next upcoming years is going to bear that out. I really think we're coming into our own. I think we're finally discovering why we're here. And I'm seeing Gen X more motivated than it ever has been and showing more pride in itself than it ever has before. And I think millennials especially, who have been brainwashed and they're carrying a lot of the water and a lot of some of Gen Z, I think they're starting to wake up too. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what that generation kind of, becomes as the brainwashing starts wearing off. I think we're all been part of the social experiment, and the social experiment starting to end. And so we don't really know what society is going to look like. And so I'm excited to see where we go. All I know is Gen X is going to lead the way. So anyway, thank you all for coming tonight. And we will see you next week. Unless you see cryptids and conspiracies, I still have yet to hear a topic for Saturday night. But as soon as we have one, and I'll do all the work, and they'll just show up and ride my coattails. Like usual. Anyway. All right. Y'all have a very good night, and we will see you next time. Follow the white rabbit. Bye, everybody.